In 1936, Spain tore itself apart. On one side, the Republicans, defending a fragile left-leaning democracy. On the other side, the Nationalists, a coalition of fascists and monarchists led by General Francisco Franco. With Hitler and Mussolini supplying troops and weapons, Franco crushed the Republic by 1939, while the world's democracies looked the other way. Hollywood stayed silent. Censors warned filmmakers not to take sides. But one man decided to make a film about a war no one wanted to talk about. It would be praised, condemned, banned in 8 countries, and used as evidence against its writer nearly a decade later. This is the story of Blockade. For Hollywood, the Spanish Civil War was untouchable. Studios feared losing access to European markets. The Production Code Administration's censors warned against controversial political content. Most producers chose profitable silence over risky engagement. But not Walter Wanger, and his decision to break that silence would have consequences that echoed for decades. Born Walter Wanger to a German Jewish family, Wanger had changed his name to assimilate into American society. A Dartmouth-educated liberal and successful independent producer, he had built a reputation for message pictures, films that combined entertainment with social conscience. By 1936, Wanger's production company had one of Hollywood's most impressive star rosters: Henry Fonda, Madeleine Carroll, Charles Boyer, and Sylvia Sidney. He had achieved critical and commercial success with films like The Trail of the Lonesome Pine and You Only Live Once. Watching newsreels of Spanish refugees and reading reports of civilian bombings, Wanger decided to break that silence. The project, initially titled The River is Blue, was announced in early 1937 with director Louis Milestone, who had helmed All Quiet on the Western Front and a script by playwright Clifford Odets. But in March 1937, production was abruptly halted. The political sensitivity was too great. The sets were struck, and the project seemed dead. Nearly a year later, Wanger revived it with a new director, William Dieterle, fresh from his Oscar-winning success with The Life of Emile Zola. Dieterle, who had fled Hitler's Germany, understood fascism firsthand and brought moral clarity to the material. He commissioned screenwriter John Howard Lawson, a known leftist, Communist Party member, and first president of the Screenwriters Guild, to write a revised screenplay about the conflict. Lawson's script walked a precarious line. The film would open with a title card reading Spain, acknowledging the war, but would go no further. Characters would never mention Franco. The warring factions would be called simply them and us. This strategic vagueness was born of necessity. The Hays Office, which enforced Hollywood's production code, was watching closely. Studios faced intense pressure to avoid content that might offend Germany or Italy, lucrative foreign markets. Say too much, and the film would be banned before it was made. Novelist James M. Cain, famous for The Postman Always Rings Twice, contributed uncredited dialogue. Odets was provided uncredited rewrites, but every word was scrutinized, every political reference softened or removed. For Lawson, the compromises were agonizing. He wanted to make a bold statement about fascism. Instead, he was forced to craft something so deliberately vague that audiences might miss the point entirely. Filming finally began on February 16, 1938. Wanger cast Henry Fonda, whom he had under personal contract, as Marco, a Spanish peasant farmer. Fonda had just come off of strong performances in You Only Live Once and Jezebel, establishing himself as Hollywood's earnest everyman. Though Fonda's distinctly American accent made him an odd choice for a Spanish farmer, critics later suggested Mexican-American actor Gilbert Roland was better suited. His box office appeal was undeniable. Opposite him, British actress Madeleine Carroll, star of The 39 Steps and The Prisoner of Zenda, played Norma, a refugee from the Russian Revolution. Having lost her home and any sense of national allegiance, she's manipulated by her father, a weary exile desperate for survival, into cooperating with agents tied to Franco's nationalist forces. The supporting cast included Leo Carrillo as Louis, Marco's loyal friend, Vladimir Sokolov as Norma's father Basil and reluctant spy, and John Halliday as the ruthless spymaster Gallinet, who controls them through blackmail. Her father's past entanglements force Norma deeper into espionage, setting the stage for her eventual moral reckoning. Production took place on stylized sets representing Spain, with some exterior scenes shot at Bronson Canyon in Los Angeles. The modest production kept costs down, but also gave the film a stage-bound quality that would hurt its critical reception. The film opens in spring 1936 in rural Spain. Fonda's Marco, a farmer devoted to his land, dreams of buying a tractor. When Carol's Norma crashes her expensive car near his village, Marco and Louis tow it with their cattle. Despite their different worlds, Marco and Norma are attracted to each other. But war erupts. Marco rallies his neighbors to defend their land rather than flee, becoming a leader in the resistance. Meanwhile, Norma's father Basil, an art and antiques dealer, is revealed to be part of an international spy network working for, quote, the other side. Norma, with nowhere else to go after fleeing Russia, is forced to help. As Marco rises through military ranks, he encounters Norma again. Their romance rekindles despite being on opposite sides. The village comes under siege and faces starvation. A relief ship carrying food is trying to reach the port, but enemy forces plan to sink it. The spymaster blackmails Norma into revealing the ship's route. In a tragic confrontation, Marco kills Basil, not knowing he's Norma's father. Devastated but free from Gallinet's control, and moved by the suffering of innocent civilians, Norma confesses her role and helps Marco expose the spy network, saving the relief ship. The film climaxes with Marco breaking the fourth wall, looking directly at the camera and asking,
"It's not wars between soldiers. It's murder of innocent people. There's no sense to it. The world can stop it. Where's the conscience of the world?"
Blockade premiered in June 1938, while the Spanish Civil War still raged. The planned grand premiere at Grauman's Chinese Theater was canceled due to anticipated protests. Critical reception was mixed. The New York Times praised the intention but called it melodramatic. Variety dismissed it as well-meaning but heavy-handed. Many complained about Fonda's miscasting and the tepid chemistry between the leads. The film's deliberate ambiguity satisfied no one. Anti-fascist voices felt it didn't go far enough. Pro-Franco voices called it Republican propaganda. Political backlash was fierce and revealing. The Catholic Church condemned the film. The Church had strongly supported Franco's nationalists as defenders of Catholic Spain against the Republican side, which included anti-clerical factions and communists. The Church's condemnation of Blockade was a political stance supporting Franco, not merely moral objection to film content. Franco's forces threatened to ban all future Wanger productions. The film was ultimately banned in Spain, Italy, Germany, Portugal, Peru, El Salvador, Bulgaria, and Yugoslavia. However, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences recognized Blockade with 2 Oscar nominations: Best Original Story for John Howard Lawson and Best Original Score for Werner Janssen, who left his role as conductor of the Baltimore Symphony to score the film. Both lost, to Boys Town and The Adventures of Robin Hood, respectively. For writer John Howard Lawson, Blockade would return to haunt him almost a decade later. On October 27, 1947, he became the first of the Hollywood 10 called before the House Un-American Activities Committee. His political films, including Blockade, were used as evidence of his communist sympathies. Lawson was convicted of contempt of Congress, fined $1,000, and sentenced to a year in prison. When released in 1950, he was completely blacklisted. Unlike other Hollywood 10 members who were eventually rehabilitated, Lawson, who never renounced his communist beliefs, remained a pariah until his death in 1977. Director William Dieterle also suffered, though less severely. His association with Blockade made him suspect during HUAC investigations. Though never officially blacklisted, the taint damaged his Hollywood career. Henry Fonda's career, by contrast, flourished. In 1940, he played Tom Joad in The Grapes of Wrath, earning his first Oscar nomination and establishing himself as one of Hollywood's greatest actors. Blockade became a forgotten footnote in his filmography. Madeleine Carroll's Hollywood career gradually declined in the 1940s. After her sister was killed in the London Blitz, she devoted herself to humanitarian work, largely stepping away from acting. Today, Blockade is rarely seen, a noble failure constrained by the caution that allowed it to exist. Its vagueness blunted its message, and its romance softened its warning. Yet it stands as the first Hollywood film to confront fascism, even if it had to speak in whispers. A film forgotten by audiences, condemned by censors, and vindicated by history. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below.